Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds. Welcome back. I'm Gavin Webber and I'm the host of the show today. This is Ask the Cheeseman, and we will be answering all of your home cheese making questions. Episode 303, and welcome back. It's 2024, if you didn't know already. Yeah, it's going to be a great year for cheese making, especially on the channel here, and all around the world, I suppose. Should be good fun. Alrighty, big shout out to all of the financial members who keep the show running. We've got some new members there. We've got Antonio, Donna has renewed, Joey, we got Nassi, Suzanne Hartish, and Molly as a new member. So thank you to all of the new members who have signed up during the break, including, of course, all of the patrons who are there on the screen. Thank you to all of the financial support that we get every single month to keep the channel running. Absolutely fantastic. Alrighty. Now, we do have some questions. First question is from Tracy at cheeseneeds.com. Tracy says, the best cheese you ate over Christmas, Gavin. Ooh, okay. Well, we had a cheese platter last night, actually. Big charcuterie board as our dinner for last night, because my son and 2 grandchildren are visiting from Germany. Now let me think, what was on the platter? So there was some Vegemite cheese, there was some Cots chili, there was some Alpine Blossom, there was Tassie Devil, Red Leicester, what was the other one? I think that'll do, that's enough. Out of all of those, that was probably, let me think, the Vegemite cheese was just, because I'm a fan of Vegemite, of course, here in Australia. Yeah, I think that was probably the best cheese I enjoyed over the Christmas break. And, you know, I made it myself, so that was cool. But thanks, Tracy. Appreciate the question. Alrighty. There might have been another one. Where is it? Pardon me. Way back in the chat. No, but first of all, that's what I've mucked up everything, haven't I? The order's not right. First of all, here's one for free, because I can. There's the good nerd light going off. For those who don't know, and those who are new to the stream, if you put a super chat into the chat box, the light lights up, and you get priority answering of your question. So, small thing, but it's fun. Let's say good day to a few people. We've got lots of people in the chat. Banu, hopefully you're still there. It's pretty late there in Istanbul, but Happy New Year. And to Becky, and to Shauna, to Paul, Garish, g'day Paul, and to Monique and Costanzo. Who else we got there? And Kathy F, g'day Kathy. The Cappy King and Molly, welcome to both of you. Persnickety, g'day mate. Anthony, hello to you. John in New Zealand, g'day John. Have I missed anybody so far? Charlie, just down the road, g'day mate, how are you? Tommy, hello Tommy in San Diego. Crayon Eater, one comment, nice. G'day, how are you? Liz and Paul Shields, g'day mate, how are you? David Nelson, g'day, welcome back. Long time no see. David Saxelby, g'day mate, how are you in the New Zealand? And Andrew, hello Andrew. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Right, we've got some questions streaming in, so there is one way back here. I think it's from Costanzo. Let's have a look. Where the heck is it? Yeah, something about Rennet, if I remember rightly. Here it is. Excuse me. In your recipes, you use single strength rennet. What happens if you use double strength rennet instead? The curd will be way too firm, and you'll get a lot more whey locked into your curds, and they won't shrink very much at all. You may also find that as your cheese matures, it will become very bitter because of the extra rennet. What else will happen? You just find the curd structure will be very, very firm. So if you're aiming to make a soft cheese and use double strength rennet instead of single like my recipes say, then it won't be a soft cheese, it'll be a really firm cheese. So just watch. The single strength rennet strength I'm using is IMCU 200. So just gauge your recipes according to the strength of your rennet. Okay. Alrighty. The next question is from Andrew. And Andrew says, I made a Buddha and I think the curd set wasn't quite perfect, so when I pressed the cheese, it stuck pretty badly. When I removed it, it tore some of the chunks out of the cheese. Will this still be okay? It's probably best, once it's air dried, Andrew, to vacuum pack it or wax it, and then, yeah, the rind will be protected then. Otherwise, if it's got chunks missing out of the rind, then it can be prone to infection from molds, and it can get deeply into the cheese. So hopefully that'll fix that up. Now, one thing that you can fix it with, if you, instead of using cheesecloths, there are those, and I've seen them for sale. We don't have them in our shop, but blue, what are they? Disposable cheesecloths. They're a plastic liner that the cheese doesn't stick to. So if you have that trouble again, then yeah, that's one way to solve it as well. Paul says, as I age my farmhouse cheddar blue, can I keep brushing as in washing maybe, brushing off the blue, but that would cause but what would cause vac packing to be the best way to age the rest of the way? As long as it's spent some time with some oxygen in it, you possibly could vacuum pack it. However, for blues, as you know, you don't vacuum pack or wax them because they need the oxygen for the Penicillium roqueforti to grow inside. But yeah, you can keep brushing it off. That's what I did when I made my farmhouse cheddar blue. The blue only grew on the top and bottom because the sides were fairly dry. Blue needs a bit of moisture, obviously, to work. So yeah, you could. I only vacuum pack the blues after they're mature. So once they're at the whatever you want them to be, whatever strength, then you can vacuum pack them. But I wouldn't do that as it's maturing, Paul. Hope that answers your question. Don says, hi from, is that Sherry in New Zealand? Is that a place? Excellent. Kathy says, wet your cheesecloth with whey before putting curds in. It might prevent it from sticking. Indeed, and another way Tracy's just suggested, spray the cheesecloth with vinegar so it stabilises the pH so it won't stick. Indeed, both fantastic suggestions. Thank you to both of you. Paul says, Happy New Year, and thank you so much, Paul, for the kind $25 super chat. Don't know why the light's not going off, but here you go. There's one. Oh, it's working now. There we go. But yeah, thank you so much. And that really has kicked off my year. Good on you, mate. Appreciate it. Alrighty, we'll stop that. You'll probably get one for free in a minute as well. Alrighty. Now, there are quite a few submissions to the gallery today, which is really good, but we won't start the gallery until 30 minutes past the hour. So keep those questions coming in, and yeah, we'll answer them the best we can. Yeah, Paul, that's how long it took for YouTube to figure it all out. There we go. Good on you, mate. Alrighty. One thing I've forgotten to turn on is these things. There we go. That's so you can see who the last person was that did the super chat and the last subscriber and all that stuff. Oh, I'm a silly man, aren't I? Goodness me. Okay. So one of the things that I'm planning on doing is doing many cheeses. So I will. Oh, hang on. There's a question here. Many cheeses this year. So hang on. I'll just keep on that train of thought. And I'll just show you the Trello board so we can. This is how I do the video production and figuring out what we're going to do next and all that sort of stuff. So this is Trello. This is just a workspace. So currently, I'm just waiting for the Budakäse to mature. I looked at it the other day, and yeah, I think it might be okay. First time I ever made it. It's a cheese made with skimmed milk, so I'm talking about hardly any fat at all. So I think it was 0.1% fat. So hardly any fat. It's all protein, and it makes them go a little bit of a funny colour. However, we're going to kick off the year with a few blues. So I'm going to try Triple Udder Blue by Patricia, who I haven't seen in the chat today, but Patricia Gauchi. I'm going to use her recipe, and we're going to get some buffalo milk from down the road and make a blue de buffalo. So that'll be good fun. We got Colonia, which is a similar style to a Swiss cheese, but it's made in Uruguay and Uruguay and around those parts. So yeah, it's called Colonia. Also, we've got Reblochon on the cards. We've got Abors. We've got Baby Swiss, Dry Jack, and Goat Cheddar still on the list. And we've got a whole bunch of ideas. I'm still searching for some recipes, or recipes are being firmed up. We got Imaruli, which is a Georgian cheese. We got Burrata. Epois, I think I've got a recipe for that. I'll just check. I'm going to do a funny video about cheese making during the zombie apocalypse, which should be fun as well. But yeah, that's the state of affairs at the moment as far as cheese recipes. So we got quite a few there. Should last us, if I'm making one video per week, roughly, then yeah, that should last us at least till Easter anyway, until April. So that's the plan so far. Hopefully it all pans out okay. Now we do have a couple more questions. Monique says, hey Gav, how did your Stilton turn out? I've got a tiny little bit left. Actually, that's probably one of the cheeses I've been using the most over the year, and over the Christmas break, because I opened some up the other day for the cheese sampling that we did during the 6-hour live stream just before Christmas. And yeah, because I didn't want to re-vacuum pack it, I've just kept it in foil, and foil as in the foil-coated micro perforated wrap, so it doesn't dry out and it breathes and it doesn't grow any more mold. And it has gone super creamy, more so like a gorgonzola. And I tell you what, it is absolutely beautiful. We've been using it in cheese sauces with cauliflower and cheese that we had for Christmas Day. It was just beautiful. Mind you, I had some raclette in there, some Gruyere in the cheese sauce, and some Stilton just to add a little bit of edge, and it was just perfect. I've also had it sprinkled on nachos, so just crumbled, and that was just melt in the mouth. And we had a little bit on the cheese platter, some left last night on the charcuterie board. I can't show any photos because it's got my grandchildren in it, and they don't want to be public. So yeah, it turned out really well. So Andrew's got a question about Stilton as well. It says, for Stilton, is opening the ripening box once a week sufficient, or should I open the box a few times a week to get more air into it? Well, it certainly does need oxygen. If you're finding that the blue's not growing, then yeah, it's not getting enough oxygen, or the cheese isn't dry enough. It doesn't really like a wet cheese if the cheese is not dry, clammy, as in touch dry. If it's touch dry, the blue will just grow on it, no problems at all, given enough oxygen. I found that once a week was fine, and that's certainly what I did, and the blue grew absolutely perfectly on the outside of the cheese. And once a week, I mean, I actually took the cheese out of the ripening box, put it to one side, cleaned the ripening box with vinegar, and then just dried that off with paper towel, and then put the cheese back in there with a damp cloth underneath the mat, and that's how I maintain the blues. So in that instance, the Stilton that I recently made, I had wrapped it in a cloth. After about 2 months, I took the cloth off because it was getting a bit manky, and switched to silver foil, and that worked perfectly. Had no problems whatsoever, and it turned out to be an amazing blue cheese Stilton style. Kathy says, have you ever smoked cheese, and what are any pointers? What's the best cheese to smoke? Yes, Kathy, the harder cheeses are the best ones to smoke. There have been a few experiments. Lisa from Cheese 52 did an experiment where she smoked a cheese that had just been air dried and one that had been matured, and then compared the two. And she actually found that the cheese that had been just air dried before maturation absorbed a lot more smokiness, smoky flavour. Now, you've got to use cold smoking. Yes, I have. Cold smoking is the best way to do it, because if you hot smoke something, the cheese will melt. So you can't have a heat source near the cheese. The heat source has to be, with the smoke, has to be separate from the cheese. I have smoked some cheese in my barbecue. Let me just bring that up. I think I can find it quickly. Let me just, oops, sorry, back to the second monitor. So just to the channel page, put in search smoked. Here we are, cold smoking my own homemade cheese. Yeah, so we've got a video on that. Do I have a link? Yep. So I'll just pop that in the chat for you, Kathy. There we go. Go and check that out. There's my thoughts and how I smoke cheese. Like I said, cold smoking is definitely the best way to do it. But you can smoke any cheese. Like, you can buy cheese from the store, as long as it's a firm cheese, and smoke it yourself. And a lot of people do that. Paul says, I made a double Gloucester about a year ago. I tried it 6 months ago, and the texture was very gummy. I tried it last week, and it was still gummy. What would cause that? Gummy. I don't... I'm trying to understand what gummy means. It's like a gummy bear. The taste a bit chewy. Yeah, it certainly shouldn't have that texture. It sounds like there's not enough acid development in the cheese, Paul, is the only thing I can think of if the cheese is like that. Chewy, there you go. Yeah, so it's not crumbly as you would expect a double Gloucester style to be. Maybe the cultures, because if you had a thermophilic in there somewhere, it will be firmer and more chewy. Mesophiles tend to make the cheese not as firm as you had of those hard Italian cheeses that you can slice, or the Alpine styles. Yeah, maybe check the cultures, because double Gloucester should be with mesophiles only, as far as that goes. That's the only thing I can think of, or there's not enough acidity development in the cheese, and yeah, the acidity causes it to become crumbly over time. So chalk that one up to a learning experience, Paul, I think. Austin says g'day, or Happy New Year. G'day, Austin. And Cool Cat has joined the chat. Nice, thank you. Who else we got? Becky has a question. I was just looking for a recipe for Welsh rarebit. Do the Welsh always use cheddar? Looking for the most traditional. Do they always use cheddar? They use Caerphilly as well, which is Welsh. That is what I've been told and what I've seen, but a combination of cheddar and Caerphilly, and they both melt very well. So I don't know a traditional. You'd have to go and look at a Welsh page on YouTube, not on YouTube, but on the internet, and have a look. Becky, I think that's probably the best bet. Go and find something that does, some site that does traditional Welsh recipes. But from what I've been told, cheddar and Caerphilly are the two main cheeses that they use. Greg says, greetings from northern Minnesota. Using a Limburger recipe that calls for as much GO17 as Brevibacterium. I wonder if you think GO17 adds anything save the GO for other cheeses. Yeah, it actually does. So Greg, what the GO does, it prepares the surface and it creates a environment on the rind so that the Brevibacterium can grow prolifically. It actually raises the acidity, so more towards neutral, on the surface of the cheese, and that is particularly what Brevibacteria linens likes. It likes a fairly low acid surface on the cheese, so it starts to ripen the cheese from outside in. So definitely GO, any type of GO usually works with Brevibacteria linen, so 13, 15 or 17. Doesn't really matter because it's not creating a wrinkly skin, and you got to remember that you're washing the Limburger very regularly with the brine wash that may have those two molds and bacteria in them. So there won't be any way that the GO can take hold and just turn the cheese into white mold, unless you forget to wash 1 week, of course. So yeah, it prepares the surface, helps the Brevibacterium grow, and get that orange or red smear on the outside of the cheese. So definitely worth it. Next question. Cool Cat says chewy as in covered in lots of brown hair from Star Wars. Yeah, nice. Tracy says that Welsh Rarebit, you could use pretty much any territorial British cheese, Lancashire, Cheshire, etc. All those sorts of British style firm cheeses, which are very, very yummy. But yeah, look, you can mix and match. Go for it. Enjoy your Welsh Rarebit. Okay, so I am fresh out of questions, Curd Nerds, so get stuck into it. If not, we'll be starting the gallery early. It's nearly time. I'm excited. There's lots of nice cheeses too. Excellent. Alrighty. So, without further ado, let's get stuck in the gallery. Alright, let me just bring that up so I can get it all done. Where are we? There we go. So, before I start, the gallery is brought to you by you, the home cheese makers. And the more photos you send in, the longer the gallery gets, which is absolutely fantastic. So what we're going to do this week is show the photos that people have sent in over the Christmas break, over the 2 weeks, and talk about what they are, what the person has written about it, and it's always good fun. So it's kind of like a Gavin Reacts, but live. So you heard it here. Here we go. So the first one is from Liz in New Zealand. Liz Garson says, "Hi Gavin, I hope you had a good Christmas and a New Year break and you're full of energy for 2024. Indeed, I am. I'm attaching 3 photos this week of cheeses made here. The first is Forme d'Ambert, which I made 6 weeks ago using Deborah Amron Boyes' recipe. This is my first blue cheese, and so far it's looking and smelling fantastic. It has developed a really blue rind, and I'll allow it to mature in its box in the cheese cave for at least another 4 weeks before I cut into it. Indeed, it looks really nice. Better than the Forme d'Ambert that I made. Mine kind of went a bit funny, and that was back in the early days, and I probably didn't keep the notes for it. So yeah, I think that looks absolutely fantastic. Liz, the development is really good so far. Congratulations. The next one is Second are two Castle Blues made a fortnight ago. I've just pierced them and they too are back in their box in the cheese cave. I'll leave them 2 more weeks, pierce them again, and then try them out in about 4 weeks. I'm happy with the development, but not entirely sure what they should look like at this stage. What do you think? I think that they're probably not humid enough, just by looking at that, Liz, because after 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks, made a fortnight ago. They should be really covered in blue. That amount of blue is probably around the 5 to 7 day mark normally with proper conditions. So maybe put a damp cloth underneath the mat in the ripening box. You can't see it because I think it's sitting on its lid that you photographed there. So so do that and increase the humidity a little bit so the blue can grow a bit better. Could be also from a lack of oxygen, so just make sure you're doing it in the early stages. Every couple of days, I think, might help to get some more oxygen into the ripening box. So other than that, then I think the blue's there, so it's gonna grow fairly fast if you give it a bit more moisture and a little bit more oxygen as well. So hope that helps, Liz. They are good looking cheeses. What are these? Finally, here is a Caerphilly and a Red Leicester I cut this week. The Caerphilly tastes absolutely fabulous, just as I'd hoped for. The Red Leicester, however, is very mild and has a slightly pasty texture. I was expecting it to be sharper flavour and a drier texture. I re-vacuum sealed half of them for it to mature longer and hope that the flavour would develop. How can I ensure I make a drier Red Leicester in the future? Just looking at the cheese. Mechanical holes, that's all good. Really, if you want a drier texture to the cheese, then either naturally mature the rind a bit like you have with the Caerphilly for a while so it dries out, and then you'll find that the paste is a little bit firmer. Also, you could stir it for just a little bit longer, maybe 10-15 minutes longer during the cooking phase, and that'll dry the curds out a little bit more. But yeah, don't forget to do the squeeze test. So once you get to the end of the end of stirring the curds, that you put a bunch of curds in your hands, give it the squeeze test, and if it holds firm and then you can press it with your thumb and it just bursts apart, then you know that it's ready to go into the mold. So it's a pretty good indication that the cheese is being cooked sufficiently. But yeah, you could raise the acidity a little bit longer, like I said, by stirring it some more during the cooking phase. But that's all I can think of for that cheese. But it looks pretty good though, Liz. But mature it longer, you'll get some more flavour development. It also could be no, I was going to say a lack of salt, but I don't think it would be, because if you didn't have salt, the flavour would be pretty extreme, because there's nothing to dampen the growth of the lactic bacteria. So Liz goes on to say, all the best for 2024 to you, Kim, and the doggos and all the curd nerds. Thanks for the continued inspiration and guidance. Cheers, Liz. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it. And thank you so much for sending in your photos this week. The next photo, this is a bit small, but we'll make that a bit bigger. Here we go. This is from Monique. Monique says, G'day Gav and fellow curd nerds. It's Monique from the Illawarra area in New South Wales. Hope everybody had a great Christmas and New Year break. This here is before and after shots of my Bel Paese cheese, using Gav's recipe, of course. Out of the press on November 12th. Maturation completed later on the 12th of December. Very nice, firm, slightly salty. I use Made by Cow Milk, which is back on the shelves of selected stores. Hooray. Best milk ever. as well as Farmer's Own, which is not available to me, unfortunately. I had to drive down to Bowral from Albion Park, which is a fair way, to make for the Made by a Cow, which is sold in Harris Farm stores. And it's my nearest location. So worth the beautiful, stunning 45-minute early morning drive. Where I live is gorgeous, surrounded by mountains. This cheese is pretty much a success. Let's have a look at the after shot. Here we go. It's a good looking bel paese by the look of it. This cheese was pretty much a success with few mechanical holes, but nothing too serious indeed. Remembering that this cheese is not pressed, it's pressed by its own weight. So yeah, I would expect something like that, Monique, so I don't think there's any issues. Says, note, if your single strength rennet is on the old side, even with Made by a Cow, double the amount. Mine was old, and I did not do this. As a result, I had to rest it longer, which caused the milk to slightly over-acidify, which meant the end result was firmer and not as creamy as Gav's was. But it was still very nice, a great cheese. There you go. So thanks, Monique, for sending in your photos. Good looking cheeses, that's for sure. All right, the next ones are from Oliver. And Oliver's in Western Australia, so I'm not sure if he's on the chat because it's, what time is it in WA? 5:32 a.m. in the morning, so he may not be up for this, but he can catch it on the replay. Anyway, so Oliver says, it's a big email. Lots of cheeses. Hi Gav, Happy New Year. I hope you have a great holiday season. Indeed. Like many of the curd nerds, I had a number of cheeses that were going to be open for Christmas. I decided that these 4 were going to go into a hamper for a Christmas gift along with some homemade preserves. It was very well received. The first one is your Red Leicester. It's made on the 13th of August. To be honest, this was the star. A really nice eating cheese with just the right texture and flavour. It looks really nice. That's a good looking cheese, mate. So congratulations on your Red Leicester, and it certainly is red. All right, the next one is the close follower was your Asiago Papato. I made it on the 23rd of August. A nice hard cheese with the peppers coming through just right, complementing the slight sharpness of the cheese. Indeed, as it gets more drier, you get a more peppery flavour, and that looks pretty nice and firm. So yeah, you matured that out for a long time. I think my Asiago Papato, I think I matured it for 8 weeks, so you probably matured a little bit longer, but that's fine. It looks great. Nice sharp cheese. Be great for grating over pasta as well. And the next one is, that old ageless classic, your Vegemite cheese, made on the 1st of October. To be honest, I did this one for the grandchildren. However, taste-wise, it is quite pleasant. The Vegemite is not overpowering. Number 1 granddaughter loves it, so it is gifted to her. She suffers from severe tonsillitis, so anything she can eat is hers. Excellent. And the last one for the hamper was this one, which is I included a Mary Carlin's brew curd cheddar, made on the 21st of August. I made this with a strong Aussie stout, Cooper's Best Extra Stout. It is definitely that flavour coming through, and a nice cheese. I can slightly see some marbling in the cheese. So yeah, it looks really nice. Well done, Oliver. What is it? It says all of them I have half a wheel left, but all but the Vegemite cheese, which I think will improve with age. That is if I can discipline myself to keep them later. To wrap up, there are some more. Here we are. So, firstly, we've got from recent makes that aren't mature yet, a Hispanico / Manchego. your recipe, 17th of November. It is aging and my first attempt at a natural rind. I have bitten the bullet and let the molds grow and then brushing them in. I will be oiling this for the first time next week. So nice, and you got a nice mold, obviously, the Manchego mold for that. This one is the Hispanico that is aging, so that's Oliver brushing off the molds that are growing on the outside, so that is pretty cool. This next one is a Farmhouse Cheddar Blue, again your recipe, made the 19th of December. It took about a week and a bit for the blue to start in the cheese cave at 12 degrees Celsius, and then it rapidly developed. This is now fully pierced and happily maturing in its box in the cheese cave. So yeah, it looks really nice, and you've used a fair bit of annatto by the looks of it as well. So it'll be a very nice contrasting cheese with the blue veins in the middle and the orange paste of the cheese, so that looks really good. The next one is 2 Mad Millie Double Breeze. I made this several times and was always disappointed with the thinness of the wheels. So this time I made a double batch and created plastic extensions for the molds from the plastic cover of an old notebook I had. The A4 size made it the perfect loop to fit the 100mm diameter molds. It worked well, but I think I have gone just a bit too thick. And so we'll make another extension, so I will divide the curds over 3 molds. Okay, so they're probably a bit too high once you have a look. But that is a great way. What's another cheese that does that? English Colomers is another version that uses an extension like that. There are quite a few other cheeses. To get more denser, they actually use extensions like this on the basket. And as gravity pushes the cheese down and the whey expels, you get a smaller cheese eventually. So it says, Oliver goes on to say, the curds shattered, but after I cut, then tried to fill the molds. I used Tracy Johnson's shattered curd remedy from her YouTube video and managed to salvage it. Filling the molds, I used the technique you described and which I was familiar with making your Castle Blues, but this takes time. Eventually all the curds were in there, and after a couple of hours they drained enough that they were below the extensions so I could remove them, and I was able to start flipping them. Is there another photo? There we go, there they are. They have been in the cheese cave ripening box and should be in cheese paper and in the regular fridge as you get this. But I took my eye off the ball and have run out of white cheese paper, so I now have some slippage and I'm patting them down. When the paper arrives, we'll get them wrapped ASAP. Meantime, I will just put them in their ripening box in the fridge crisper. I need to slow the process down. Cheers, Oliver. Thank you, Oliver. And they are amazing looking cheeses. Yeah, they are starting to get a little bit too much activity, and yeah, definitely need to be wrapped. But you might get just a really gooey cheese, which would be fantastic. I love a good gooey white mold ripened cheese, as long as they don't go watery on the inside. So yeah, very nice, mate. Well done. So mini double breeze, congratulations. The next one is from Paul Gerish. Paul says, hi Gavin, I finished my Farmhouse Cheddar Blue today. The picture is attached, but just out of the press, so it has no blue mold. If I have time, I'll send a picture of an update, which he has, when it starts to get blue. I almost had to make something else because my Penicillium Roque Malt 40 was missing. I know I had some because I successfully made Castle Blue previously. It was hiding, but I found it just in time. I'm really enjoying the louder molds. I think it does a great job, and I am looking forward to making a 3 kilogram Parmesan. But I need to build a new press first. It said, I dried my farmhouse cheddar for 4 days, but the blue growth was only very slight, which is to be expected at 4 days. All right, so this is the second picture. It says, I decided to start the ripening process and hoped I could get blue growth similar to your creation. After 3 more days, you can see blue is exactly like yours. Today I punched holes top and bottom and a few on the sides. It is now safely back in the cheese cave. I will let this age for 4 months total. I'm looking forward to trying it. I said, today I checked on my farmhouse blue. At this point, it's still blue. It is now blue on the sides as well. Is this too much? The cheese is fairly dry, Paul, so I don't think that'll be too much of an issue. I have several people wanting to try it. Hopefully it'll still be okay. Thanks again for your support and teachings. I wish you and Kim a fantastic 2024. Regards, Paul. So, look, that's going to be fine. If you get more blue on the outside, that's fine. As I've mentioned to you in a separate correspondence, just start brushing it because the rind is fairly dry, which it should be, and you can just wipe that off. Not with a damp cloth or anything. I wouldn't go that far, but because the mold's fairly dry, it should just brush off. Just use a soft brush, something like a nail brush or something like that, and you'll find that you'll be able to keep the rind clean, but the blue mold will grow in the middle. Because farmhouse cheddar blue is a little bit different than other blues, because the humidity is not very high in the ripening box. The rind is fairly compact, and the cheese has very tiny fissures in the paste that will help the blue mold grow through it. It's not an overpowering blue, it's a more milder sort of blue. But thank you, Paul, for sending those in. And I think that is the end of the gallery. It is. So thank you to everybody who sent in, just get rid of that, sent in photos today. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I send in my photos to Gav to show every week on Ask the Cheeseman? Well, it's very simple. Let me just bring it up and show you how to do it. Here we go. So you go to the channel page. This is pretty simple. And see this bit here where it says, do you want to become a curd nerd? There's a little arrow at the end. You just click on this bit here and this little pop-up box comes up. And down here where it says channel details, view email address. You've got to be logged on to your YouTube account to see this. So click on that and then just send your photos to that email address. I won't click on it now because I'll get spammed. So just send through your photos, and fairly simple. And I've got lots of room in my mailbox to accommodate all of the photos that you're going to send in. So whether it be absolutely perfect, that is fantastic. I'd love to see a nice well-made cheese. Whether you're having some issues with it is perfectly fine as well, and we can help diagnose it during the show as well. So the gallery is always great fun, and as Jim says, I always enjoy the gallery. It is great inspiration. It helps me hone my craft as well as helping the curd nerds out there. RTD Jazz has a question and says, hello from Oklahoma. I made a Camembert and it looks great, but is very stinky like socks. Indeed. I know this is normal, but how long should this last? It was made with raw milk. Your channel is a favourite. Thank you, RTD Jazz. Yeah, look, you'll get ammonia build-up if you're not creating an environment with enough oxygen. Like if you've got, normally cheese makers will have their little camemberts on racks in a room that has constant air moving around, and that ammonia, which is what the gas is just moved around in there, and it doesn't build up and become very stinky like that. It sounds like you need to open the ripening box a little bit more often, maybe a couple of times a week. Maybe also lower the temperature of the cheese cave, or put your cheese into the kitchen fridge. You should have wrapped it at 14 days, or when it has a complete mould coating over the cheese, so wrapped it in micro-perforated cheese wrap that you see that commercial cheeses are packaged in. And once you've wrapped that, that should go into the kitchen fridge to lower the temperature of the cheese to make sure that it doesn't mature too rapidly and create this ammonia, which helps speed up the ripening process. So yeah, just make sure that you've wrapped it at 14 days or whenever you get a full mold coating. It shouldn't really smell too much before then, that's for sure. But it sounds like it may be going overripe, especially if made from raw milk. Now remember, when you're making cheese, this goes for everybody, if you're making cheeses from raw milk, you probably only need to put 50% of the culture that I use in my recipes into the milk. Remember that raw milk already has lactic bacteria present and some molds present in the milk. So if you don't halve the amount of culture that I use because I use pasteurized and unhomogenized milk, and all of the bacteria have been killed due to the pasteurization process. So using raw milk, you've already got some lactic bacteria in there, so it may be very strong if you've made Camembert using one of my recipes and haven't halved the amount of cultures in the cheeses. So yeah, that's the best way to do it. Alrighty, Becky says, great gallery to start the year with, very inspiring. Thank you, Becky, and thanks to all the people that send stuff in. Anthony says, I intentionally let my triple cream over ripen because I love the gooey texture, and it is really. I over ripened some. I had one triple cream left that I was holding on to after the taste test that I did the video for, and it did go gooey, and it was. I think it was about 6, maybe 8 weeks I ripened it out to, and it was exceptional. The flavour was just amazing. Kim doesn't like them too gooey, whereas I do. So, Anthony says, with my raw milk, I find that 75 to 80% of the culture load is about right. Thanks, Anthony. That kind of gels with what I've been saying, but I only do that with the bacteria and not the mold. Yeah, indeed, because otherwise you'll find it too strong, I believe. And a good tip from Persnickety, that when you're asking a question during the chat, that put 3 Qs before it so I can, hone into it. There's a lot of stuff going on in the chat, so that's good. Alrighty, so if anybody's got any more questions, then shoot them in. One thing I want to know is whether you have, what's on my notes here, it says, if you have any requests for cheeses that I have not made yet during 2024, it will be interesting if you've got any favourites of yours that stand out and you think there are recipes for them that are kind of available, or I can modify existing recipes. That would be great. So if you've got any suggestions or recommendations on cheeses that I haven't yet made, that would be interesting. Shauna says, what about making Comté? Yes, thanks, Shauna, and I think you've already given me a recipe for that, so I will be putting that on my Trello board to make in 2024. John has a question. It says, I set up 2 Parmesan wheels over Christmas/New Year. I cut into a Cotswold ploughman's with chives made back in September. I also developed an apricot and almond soft cheese. It's fantastic. If you got a recipe for that one, John, and you don't mind sharing, that would be lovely, and I'll see if I can make that myself. Kathy says, does long-aged cheese develop lipase? I've added some to Asiago, and it's strongly flavoured but good. Kathy, with all raw milk has lipase present. Cow's milk, not so much. However, and that is when it's raw. When it's pasteurised, the lipase gets destroyed. So that's why we add lipase back into the milk when we're using pasteurised milk. But if you're using raw milk, which I think you said you were, you probably don't need to add very much lipase. I'm talking about for 10 litres of milk, or what's that, 2.5 gallons, I would only add about 1/32 of a teaspoon max. Normally I add 1/8, but that's with pasteurised milk. So yeah, if you're using raw milk, then you probably don't need to add it. It's already there. You get more lipase in goat's milk and a little bit in sheep's milk, but more in goat's milk than anything else, which is why it has that goaty flavour as well. So thanks for your question, Kathy. Shauna also says, have I thought about making the orange and walnut kefili, which you have, and I think you've sent me the recipe too, Shauna, so I'll have to dig that up. Orange and walnut. I think that'll be a hit here as well, so I think that would be fantastic. So that's on my list, and Comté is on my list. Hopefully I'll be able to achieve a natural rind. I think you did, Shauna, when you made yours, so that would be good. Tracy says, also 1/3 of people detest the taste of lipase, so bear that in mind. Indeed, it is. If people don't like the taste of parmesan, which I found some people don't, I don't know why. It's a very strong flavour, same as in the cheese that cannot be mentioned, Grana Padano. Those cheeses are naturally high in lipase. They both use raw milk. Some people don't like that smell. They don't like the smell more than the taste, I think. It's off-putting for them, but, whatever. I'm totally on board with people not needing it if they don't want it. Kathy says it's strong to bite, but shredded, it's good. Yeah, shredded adds more surface area, so you get a better flavour, so I hope that makes sense. Persnickety says parmesan is also high in potassium, which surprised me. Indeed. I have to call it early. I've actually just got a message that I have to go and look after the grandchildren whilst my son goes into the city to drop off a car. So I have to finish early. Sorry, Curd Nerds. So that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you to Paul for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Great start to 2024, and there will be many cheese videos this year, so don't go anywhere. Stay tuned and subscribe to the channel. Before I go, however, I have a little gift just for 5 people. Here we go. Here's some memberships coming your way. If you want to pick one up, be quick in the chat and grab it. There we go. So, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. One more to go, 5. There we go. All grabbed. Congratulations to all those that picked up those memberships. Enjoy those and the early access it gives you to videos and the other perks. That membership was the young tier, which does get early access to cheese making videos at least 24 hours before I release them. So, there you go. Thank you to one and all today for joining me on the first show for 2024. If you enjoy making cheese and haven't started, probably the best place to go to learn would be my Curd Nerd Academy. I have a beginner's course and a blue cheese course at courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You can go and check that out. If you want cheese making supplies, I'll have them all restocked by middle of next week. So if you don't find much in the store at the moment, you can go to littlegreenworkshops.com.au. I'm restocking all the kits and all of the bacterias and baskets and all that sort of stuff. But we will be shipping tomorrow for all those orders that have come in over the holiday break. And of course, if you want to get any merch like this amazing cup, certified curd nerd with the coffee stain on it, go to merch.cheeseman.tv. Well, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. I will see you next week. Have a fantastic start to 2024, and may all your cheeses be amazing. All right, see you later, Curd Nerds. See you next time.